The sky burned red above the planet KYROS-3. Laser fire ripped through the air as explosions lit up the ground like fireworks from hell. The war had started without warning, without reason, or at least none the humans understood. One moment, the colony was thriving. The next, it was under siege. No declaration. 8. No demands. Just death. Sergeant Riven Cole sprinted through the smoke and debris, pulse rifle gripped tight in his gloved hands. His breath came hard through his helmet filters as he ducked behind a shattered wall, his back scraping the cracked stone. I counted to 3, then popped out and fired, sending a line of plasma bolts at the enemy line. Somewhere in the distance, a child screamed. This wasn't what Kairos 3 was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a peaceful mining world rich in minerals, yes, but far from any major conflict zone. Humans had spent years building settlements, forming trade routes, raising families. No one had expected war, but war had come, and not from pirates or rival humans, but from a species barely anyone had heard of, the Drell. Silent, armored, precise. They moved like shadows, never speaking, never missing a shot. Rumors said they saw humans as biological interference. No one had confirmed it, but no one had denied it either. And Riven, he didn't care about reasons anymore. He just wanted to survive. Behind him, the cums buzzed. Cole, report. Still breathing, he growled, but barely. Sector 7's a mess. Civilians down. Repeat, civilians down. Understood. Pull back to checkpoint Echo. Riven didn't move. His eyes locked on a figure, a head small, fragile, collapsed under a steel beam near a ruined building. At first he thought it was a wounded human. But then he saw the skin, smooth, silver blue, the long fingers, the narrow limbs. An alien. He froze. The Drell didn't leave their wounded. Ever. If one of them fell, their comrades retrieved the body or vaporized it. But this one had been left cautiously. Riven crept forward. Smoke coiled around him like a living thing. As he got closer, he saw the figure was a female, maybe late teens if she'd been human. Her chest rose and fell in shallow breaths. Her leg was pinned under a thick beam, twisted unnaturally. Her eyes opened, faintly glowing violet. They didn't look hateful. They looked scared. "Hey," he said, more to himself than her. "You're not like the others, are you?" The girl blinked. Slowly, weakly, Riven knelt beside her. Her armor was different, less bulky, not combat grade. Maybe medical? Civilian? Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. Then she whispered something. A single word in broken trade tongue. "Help." Riven hesitated. Everything he'd seen told him to leave her. This was the enemy. This was one of them. But something in her voice cut through all the noise, all the fire, all the hate. He dropped his rifle. With a grunt, he pushed against the beam, trying to lift it. It didn't budge. He adjusted his grip and tried again, straining with every muscle. She cried out low and pained. The beam shifted slightly, enough for him to slide his pack under it and create space. "Can you move your leg?" She shook her head. "Okay, fine, then I'll move you." He slid one arm under her shoulders, the other under her knees, and carefully lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected. Her body trembled, but she didn't resist. Riven stood, turned, and ran behind him. The building collapsed, sending up a wave of dust. His cum buzzed again. "Cole, where the hell are you?" "Change of plans," he panted. "I've got a guest." "A what?" "I'll explain later. Just prep the medbay." There was silence. Then a sigh.
"Copy that. You're gonna
have some explaining to do." As Riven ran through fire and ash, holding the wounded alien girl tight against his chest, he wondered the same thing. Why had they left her? Why had she asked him for help? And why, even with the sky falling around them, had he said yes? Whatever the answers were, one thing was clear. This war had started with enemies, but something far more complicated had just begun. Riven's boots pounded. the dirt as he sprinted back toward the nearest safe zone, his arms wrapped around the alien girl's thin frame. His armor was scorched and scratched, and the wind from a distant explosion slammed into his back like a punch from a ghost. But he didn't slow down. The girl he still didn't know her name breathed shallowly, head resting against his shoulder. Her skin was burning hot and small tremors ran through her body. Riven could feel it. She was fading fast. "Hang on," he muttered. "Just hang on." Cut through the back alleys of the ruined settlement, where shattered domes and twisted beams marked the once prosperous mining outpost. This place had been full of life a week ago. Now, it smelled like smoke, blood, and endings. When he reached the checkpoint gates, 2 Terran soldiers raised their rifles. "Whoa. Contact wait? Is that a Drell? Hold your fire," Riven barked. "She's injured, unarmed. I found her under a collapsed structure." One of the guards narrowed his eyes. "You serious, Sarge?" "That's the enemy. Not today," Riven said. "Today she's someone who needs help." There was a long pause. Then, grudgingly, the guard stepped aside. Riven pushed through the gate, inside the checkpoint bunker. Chaos reigned. Wounded colonists lined the floor, medics moved like ghosts between cots, and the buzz of emergency signals filled the air. Dr. Mara Chen, a no-nonsense field medic with tired eyes, spotted him first. "Another casualty?" she asked, wiping blood from her gloves. "Yeah," Riven said, setting the girl gently on a med table, not the usual kind. Mara's gaze dropped to the alien and froze. "You brought in a Drell? She's young, hurt bad, doesn't look like a soldier. And what, you thought we'd just patch her up like she's one of ours?" Riven met her eyes. "If you're asking me if I trust her, no. But I trust what I saw. She was begging for help." They left her behind. Mara exhaled through her nose and reached for her scanner. "Fine. But you're on watch. If she makes a wrong move, you end it. Understood?" He nodded. Understood. Over the next hour, Mara worked in silence, scanning, injecting, and stabilizing the girl. Riven stayed at her side the whole time. She never spoke again, but her eyes flickered open once. When she saw him, her hand twitched toward his. He let her hold his fingers. Just for a moment. Later, when she finally fell into a more stable sleep, Riven slumped into the chair beside her cot, exhausted. His pulse rifle was leaning against the wall within reach, but he didn't feel like a soldier anymore. Not here. Not beside her. "Never seen one of them up close," Mara said quietly, sitting beside him. "She's smaller than I expected." "They look like us," Riven muttered. "But when they fight, there's nothing human in them. And yet, here she is. Left behind, broken. Which means she was never one of them to begin with," he said, more to himself than to Mara. That night, while the compound slept under the cracked moons of Kairos 3, Riven sat by her side. He thought about all the things he'd lost in this. War comrades, peace, time, pieces of himself. He wondered what she'd lost, what it meant to be left behind by your own kind. Not killed, just discarded. The next morning, she woke. Her eyes opened slowly. She turned her head toward him and spoke in soft, halting words. "You stayed." He leaned forward. "Yeah, I stayed. My name is Lura," she whispered. "I'm Riven." There was a long silence between them, and she said something that shook him more than any explosion ever had. "They called me defective. I failed physical combat trials. My clan said I was a burden. They left me during the evacuation." Riven swallowed the anger rising in his chest. "That's not defective. That's just different." Lura blinked. "You're different too." Chuckled bitterly. "Yeah, well, that's the story of my life." "I felt your arms," she said quietly. "Strong, but kind." He looked away. "Guess I don't know how to be anything else." Mara brought in food later, that day-just protein paste and mineral water, but Lura sipped it gratefully. The more she spoke, the more Riven noticed her accent formal, calculated. The Drell didn't show emotion easily, but Lura's words held something rare. Vulnerability. "They do not allow weakness," she said. Any who fail are erased from the bloodline records. I am. Erased. Not anymore, Riven said. Not while I'm around. Couldn't explain why he meant it so fiercely. Maybe it was the way she looked at him. It's not with fear, not with suspicion, but with hope, something he hadn't seen in a long time. The war hadn't ended. Outside the compound walls, Kairos 3 was still burning. But inside this small bunker, something had shifted. They were no longer soldier and enemy, just two broken souls, trying to figure out why they still mattered. And for the first time since the shooting started, Riven realized he'd found someone who made him feel human again. And maybe, just maybe, he could do the same for her. Days passed. The war didn't stop, but inside the bunker, time moved differently. Riven stayed close to Laura, watching her recover piece by piece. She still couldn't walk on her own, but her strength was returning. Mara continued her treatments, though always with a suspicious glance or a whispered warning to Riven when Laura was asleep. She's not human, Riven, Mara said one morning, arms crossed. We don't know what she's capable of. Riven just nodded. She's capable of being left behind. That makes her like us. That answer didn't sit well with the others. The rest of the soldiers avoided the corner of the bunker where Laura's cot sat. Some glared, others muttered. A few outright complained to command, demanding she be turned over to the higher-ups for interrogation. After all, what was she doing so deep in a human colony? Why wasn't she in full armor? Was she alone? But Riven didn't ask those questions. Instead, he brought her books from the supply crate, told digital Earth classics. He showed her how to play Terran music through a portable speaker. He even brought her a scarf to wear when the chill from Kairos' twin moons seeped through the compound walls at night. She wore it like it was made of gold. You treat me, she said one evening, like I am not your enemy. You don't talk like one. Don't act like one. Haven't tried to stab me once. I've never stabbed anyone, she said with a soft smile, voice barely above a whisper. Riven laughed. It was the first real laugh he'd let out since the war started. It surprised both of them. Then quietly, she said something that froze him in place. My name isn't even recorded anymore. My clan removed it when they left me. A Vailari without a name is not alive. He frowned. Told me your name was Lura. She nodded. It was mine. But it is not theirs anymore. It cannot be spoken in my people's memory chambers. It is a name, no one says. Riven stared at her. Well, I'm not no one. And then he said it out loud, slowly, clearly. Lura, she looked at him like he'd pulled her back from the edge of some great void. Her fingers clenched the scarf around her shoulders. Single tear shimmered in the corner of her eye before she turned her face away. He didn't mention it. He just sat beside her, both of them listening to the low hum of the base's generator and the quiet songs of Earth she was still learning to love. That night, Riven was called to a command briefing. He left reluctantly, promising to return. As soon as he was gone, Lyra tried to sit up. Her legs shook. The medical brace on her spine clicked and whirred, struggling to support her. She gritted her teeth and swung her feet down onto the cold floor. She wasn't supposed to move yet. Mara had said it would take another week, but she had to try. Riven believed in her. That meant more than she could say. She would not stay a ghost. Forever, with trembling fingers, she pulled herself upright. Her knees buckled, but she caught the wall. She took one step, then another. Across the bunker, a young mechanic named Thorn was watching from behind a crate. He narrowed his eyes. The alien was walking. He reached for his cum unit. Meanwhile, in the war room, Riven was standing in front of Commander Lex Arden, arms crossed, a steel look in his eyes. I'm not handing her over, he said, voice low. You don't get to make that call, Arden replied, tapping a report on the table. Recon says a Valari scout ship was spotted 3 days ago. The brass think it was searching for someone. Riven stayed quiet. You think this girl's just a civilian? Arden continued. What if she's a defector? Or worse? What if she's bait? She's not bait, Riven said. She's a girl they abandoned, broken, scared. She can barely walk. Broken things can still be dangerous. She's not dangerous to us. If anything, she's proof that not all Valari think the way their leaders do. Arden leaned forward. You getting attached, soldier? Riven didn't flinch. It's getting human. When Riven returned to the medbay, Laura was sitting upright, her legs dangling, her face lit with a mixture of pain and triumph. You stood, he said, stepping forward. I walked, she replied. 3 steps. That is more than nothing. He grinned. That's a damn miracle. She looked up at him. It is because you stayed. Before he could respond, Mara rushed in, her face tight. We've got a problem, she said. Reported movement. Command knows she's more mobile than she's supposed to be. Let me guess, Riven said. They want her moved. Questioned, dissected, maybe. They're sending a shuttle in the morning, Mara confirmed. They're calling it a diplomatic detainment. He turned to Lura. She didn't speak. She didn't cry, but her eyes were full of quiet dread. He made the decision instantly. I'm getting you out of here, he said. Mara stared. That's desertion, Riven. It's the right thing. No one will follow you. He shook his head. I don't need anyone to follow me. Just need her to walk. Lura looked at him, her voice small. Even if I fall, I'll carry you. And this time, she didn't argue. Because this was no longer just about survival. This was about freedom, for both of them, asterisk. The desert winds howled outside the checkpoint bunker. Inside, the air felt tighter than ever. It was too quiet. Too still. Riven could feel it, the tension crawling through the walls like static. Word had spread. Everyone knew the alien girl could walk. Everyone knew command was coming. They had till sunrise. Riven paced the narrow corridor, jaw clenched, fingers twitching near his rifle. In the medbay, Lura sat on the edge of her cot, wrapped in her scarf, watching him. Her legs still trembled when she moved them. But her mind was sharp. Her will was unshakable now. You don't have to do this, she said softly. Riven stopped, turned. I know, he replied, but I want to. Why? He gave a half smile. Because I've been shot at, lied to, and ordered around for 10 years. This, helping you, this is the first thing that's felt right in a long time. She looked away, her silver blue eyes shining with something new. Trust outside. Mara walked in, a duffel slung over one shoulder. She tossed it at Riven. Medical supplies, food, cold field gear. Should buy you 2 a couple days, she said. Without meeting his eyes, Riven caught the bag, surprised. You're helping us? She shrugged. Don't make a habit of it. But if command gets their hands on her, they won't ask questions. They'll take samples. Lura winced. Riven nodded. Thank you. You're not out of the woods yet. Lieutenant Thorne is suspicious. It's already poking around. You'll need to move fast. Got a route planned. Service tunnel to the west perimeter, then out through the drainage ridge. It's old, but it'll get us clear. Mara raised an eyebrow. You're serious about this? Dead serious, he said. That night, while the rest of the outpost slept, Riven guided Lura through the narrow metal corridors of the lower maintenance deck. Her steps were slow but steady. He kept one hand near her back, ready to catch her if she fell. She never did. At the tunnel hatch, he stopped and looked her in the eyes. Last chance. Once we go through here, there's no going back. She didn't hesitate. I already left my world behind. This is forward. He nodded once, proud, and opened the hatch. They slipped into the tunnel, low, dark, and freezing. The air stank of old coolant and rust. Lura stumbled once, gripping his arm to steady herself. Her touch was light, but her fingers lingered a moment longer than necessary. Neither of them mentioned it. At the far end of the tunnel, a narrow opening led to the surface. Riven crawled up first, scanning the terrain. The night sky stretched above, heavy with clouds. In the distance, the checkpoint glowed like a wound in the earth. He reached down and pulled her up. Her scarf whipped in the wind as she emerged into the cold night. Together, they made their way across the rocks. Keeping low dot behind them, alarms began to wail. They know, Lura whispered. They know we're gone. Good. They ran. Riven's boots pounded across the cracked stone, Lura keeping pace as best she could. Her legs ached, but she didn't complain. Every time she stumbled, she caught herself. Every time she faltered, Riven offered a hand but never had to lift her. She was stronger than she looked. When they reached the old maintenance skimmer buried beneath a tarp of sand and metal scraps, Riven yanked the sheet off and jumped into the cockpit, slammed the ignition. Nothing. Double quotes. Come on, come on. He smacked the control panel. The lights flickered, then hummed to life. The engine roared. He turned to Lura, who had dropped into the seat beside him, breathing hard. You? Ever flown in one of these before? She smiled. I was born on a ship. Good, hold on. The skimmer lifted off the ground and shot into the night just as spotlights burst to life behind them. Search drones. Riven twisted the controls, weaving through rock spires and ravines. Plasma fires zipped past them, lighting up the dark like tracer stars. Lura gritted her teeth. They will not stop. I know, he said, eyes locked on the horizon. But neither will I. They pushed through the storming winds, past the last perimeter beacon. Beyond it was neutral territory, no man's land between human sectors and the edge of Valerie's space. Suddenly, the engine sputtered. Riven cursed, took a hit. We're going down, hang on. The skimmer crashed into a shallow ravine, metal shrieking, sparks flying. They hit hard. Silence followed. Riven groaned, crawling out of the cockpit. Lura, I am, where she said, sitting up, dazed but alive. He rushed to her, pulling her close. Are you hurt? Just shaken. Her hands found. His arms, you didn't let go. Never. They sat in the wreckage as the wind howled above them. The checkpoint lights were long gone. No drones followed. For now, they were alone. She leaned against him, and he wrapped an arm around her. I thought I'd be afraid, she said. Out here, with no one. But I'm not. Because you're not alone. She turned her face to his. Their eyes met, wounded, uncertain, and yet full of something stronger than fear, something beginning. You saved me, she whispered. No, he said. You just needed someone to believe you were worth saving. And in that quiet ravine, under the alien sky, a soldier and a girl, once discarded by her own people, sat side by side, not as enemies, not as species from opposite sides of a war, but as two souls who had finally found each other. Asterisk. Dawn broke slowly over the ravine. It wasn't a bright sunrise. Kairos 3 never gave those. The light was filtered through dust and smoke, casting the jagged rocks in a pale orange haze. Riven stirred first, blinking against the dry wind. His back ached. His leg throbbed from where he'd twisted it during the crash, but none of that mattered. Lura was still asleep, her head resting against his shoulder, her breath calm and steady. In the quiet, her presence felt human. Or maybe he felt less. Like a soldier when he was near her, he didn't move. For a long time, just watched her sleep. He noticed how the rising sun made the tiny bioluminescent lines on her neck glow faintly, markings he hadn't seen before. Faint but symmetrical. Not scars, patterns, like natural tattoos that shimmered. Beneath her skin, they pulsed gently in rhythm with her breath. Living art, he finally whispered. Lura, her eyes opened slowly. She sat up, brushing wind-blown strands of silver hair from her face. Did I sleep long? Few hours? Long enough to drool on my jacket. She blinked. What is drool? He grinned. Forget it. They shared a rare, quiet laugh, and for a few seconds, the war felt very far away. Then the reality returned. The wrecked skimmer lay tilted on its side, one engine fused with melted sand. The emergency locator was fried. Their food supply was low, and Riven had no idea who might be tracking them. But none of that stopped him. They'd already come this far. We need to move, he said. There's a supply station about 10 clicks northwest. If the map's right, it was decommissioned. 2 years ago. That means no drones, no patrols. Just ghosts, she said softly. You afraid of ghosts? No. She looked at him. only the ones I carry. They began their slow journey through the ravine. Riven limped. Lyra walked beside him, braced with a walking stick he'd carved from a broken stabilizer rod. Every few minutes he glanced over, checking her footing. She was stronger now, less fragile, but her body wasn't the only thing changing. She spoke more, told stories of her childhood sterile learning domes, strict caste mentors, silence as virtue. I hadn't been raised by parents, but by assigned caretakers. She wasn't hugged when she cried because Valari didn't show pain. She didn't even know what laughter sounded like until she heard earth music on Riven's portable speaker. I think, she said, stepping carefully over a ridge, my people taught me how to live, but not how to feel, and us. What? Riven asked, what do humans teach? She paused, looked at him, to feel everything. Loudly, he laughed. Guilty as charged. They stopped for a break under a rock shelf, sheltering from a brief dust storm. Riven dug out a ration bar and handed her half. She sniffed it. This smells like expired coolant. Pretty sure that's the flavor, he muttered. They ate in silence. Then Lyra touched her chest, just over her heart. These patterns on my skin, she said. They are not random. He looked closer. The glowing lines had grown since the crash. Now, they reached down her arms, curling at the wrists. They started after you carried me from the bunker, she said quietly. Are they dangerous? I don't think so, but they are rare. Among the Valari, only a few have shown these changes. They're considered ... anomalies. We called them Sylvith. Those who shift, Riven raised an eyebrow. Shift into what? No one knows. The high clans feared it. Said it meant contamination. Some believed it was the result of bonding with non-Valari. He froze. Bonding. Her cheeks flushed with violet warmth. It's not always romantic, but deep connection. Emotional resonance. Neural harmony. It can trigger. ... adaptation. Riven looked down at his hand, then at her glowing arms. You're saying this is happening because of me? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she reached forward, hesitating, then touched his wrist. He felt it immediately, a faint pulse, like static, racing up his arm. Her voice trembled. When you touched me, you didn't see weakness. You didn't see failure. You saw a person. And you saw something in me too, he said. Not just a uniform. Not just another soldier. Their eyes locked. It wasn't passion. Not yet. But it was something stronger than curiosity. It was more powerful than gratitude. It was recognition of pain, survival, of the silent truth between them. They didn't need to say it. They just needed to keep going. They resumed their march, moving through a dry canyon that crackled underfoot. The shadows stretched long, the air cooled. And far ahead on the ridge, the remains of the old supply station finally came into view. But Riven felt something else. Pressure in the back of his skull. An old soldier's instinct? They were being watched. He scanned the rocks. Above, nothing. Yet the feeling remained. When they reached the outer edge of the facility, Lyra stumbled. Riven caught her gently, helping her lean against the wall. You okay? She nodded. Just tired. He crouched to check her legs in. That's when the first shot hit. It missed by inches. Slamming into the wall beside his head, he shoved her to the ground and rolled, grabbing his rifle. From the ridge, 3 figures moved with fluid precision. Not human, not Valari military either. These were ... hunters fast, silent, efficient. Lyra's voice cracked. They're not after both of us. Riven fired, forcing the figures to scatter. They're after you. No, she said. They're after what I'm becoming. Riven finally understood. This wasn't about politics. This wasn't about a runaway alien. This was about evolution and the people in power. They always feared what they couldn't control. The rocks exploded in showers of dust and shrapnel. Riven dragged Lyra behind the ruined wall of the old outpost, shielding her with his body as another pulse round tore past. He didn't need a scanner to know what they were up against. He'd seen this kind of precision before it targeted retrieval teams. Not ordinary soldiers. Not bounty hunters. These were sent by the Valari high clans. 3 of them, Riven muttered, crouched low, checking his rifle's charge. 2 snipers, 1 close range, fast, coordinated.
Out.
Lura pressed her back to the stone, breathing hard. The glow beneath her skin had spread further. It now shimmered faintly down her neck and across her collarbones like veins of light. I recognize the armor, she said, voice tense. They're from Clan Aerith, internal control unit. Meaning, they don't bring you back. They bring back pieces. Riven didn't wait. He peeked around the rubble and fired 3 rapid shots. One hit a rock just inches from a crouching Valerie's helmet. The figure ducked, but didn't retreat. They're trying to flank us, Riven said. We need to move. I can draw their attention, Lura offered. Riven looked at her like she'd just suggested jumping into lava. That's not happening. You said it yourself. This is about me. I also said I wouldn't let you get taken. She didn't argue, but she didn't agree either. They moved together, low, fast. Weaving through what was left of the old station, burnt-out machines, cracked solar panels, storage crates reduced to rubble. This place had once kept miners alive, through violent sandstorms. Now it was a battlefield. Riven found a narrow stairwell, leading down into the maintenance level. As they descended, Lura stumbled, caught her before she hit the ground. She leaned on him, skin burning with light under her scarf. I feel like something is pulling inside me, stretching, pushing you to evolve. I think, yes. Yes. And that's what they're here to stop. They're afraid I'll become something, new. Riven helped her sit on an old crate and took a breath. Then he made a choice. We don't run anymore, he said. She looked up, surprised. What do you mean we stand? We fight? You said it yourself. They don't want you back. They want to erase you. Lura's voice was quiet. And if we die, then we go down proving we were worth the risk. For a moment, she was. Silent then. Slowly she removed the scarf from her neck and let it fall. Her glow brightened. No more hiding. 10 minutes later, the hunters descended into the lower levels, silent as smoke. The first one turned a corner and triggered Riven's tripwire. The shock charge went off, slamming the Valari into a steel pipe. The figure groaned and rolled, aside injured, not dead. The second moved faster. Riven fired, but missed. The hunter ducked behind an old fuel tank. Then Lura stepped into view. She wasn't running anymore. She stood in the center of the maintenance bay. Arms exposed, her bioluminescence now pulsing in steady waves. The final hunter froze, and for the first time, Riven saw something shocking in their body language. Hesitation, not strategy, not fear of being outgunned. Fear of her. Lura's voice was calm and strange, almost melodic. You feel it, don't you? She said to the hunter. You sense the change? That's why you were sent. The hunter raised their weapon. I am not your enemy, she continued. But I am not your subject either. The hunter fired. Riven tackled her behind cover just in time. The shot missed, but barely. He looked. At her? You okay? She nodded, eyes wide. It's growing. What is? The signal. What signal? I don't know. The glow under her skin pulsed brighter. In that moment, something rippled through the air. Not sound, not heat, something else. A low vibration, almost musical, hummed from her skin. The lights in the ceiling flickered. One of the hunter's weapons short-circuited with a pop. Riven blinked. What did you just do? Lura was breathing hard. I didn't do anything, it just happened. One of the hunters shouted something, in Valari panic in their voice. Another tried to retreat. Riven didn't hesitate. He rose and fired a clean shot to the wall beside them, forcing them back. Then Lura stepped out again. Her light now extended down her arms, branching like roots. Her voice had changed. More grounded, stronger. I am not broken, she said. I am not yours. And the hunters trained Valari enforcers were in, not because they were outnumbered, but because they had seen something they didn't understand, something new. something not in their manuals. Later, as the dust settled, Riven and Lura sat in the station's control room. She looked exhausted. Her glow dimmed to a soft shimmer. He wrapped his jacket around her shoulders. "They're going to send more," she said. "Let them," he replied. "You don't have to stay with me. You've already done more than." He cut her off. "Not leaving," she turned to him, eyes searching. "Why?" He hesitated, then reached out and gently took her hand. "Because you're not just something changing, you're something becoming. And I want to see what you become." Her grip tightened. "Not just a touch, a bond in the quiet," Lura whispered. "Among my people, we never believed in destiny. But I think we were wrong." He didn't answer with words. He just leaned closer, forehead resting against hers, together. They sat in the dim light, two fugitives wrapped in each other's warmth, knowing that the galaxy was shifting and they were at the center of it. Asterisk. The silence before the storm was always the worst. The abandoned outpost was quiet, now too quiet. Riven sat on the roof of the old control tower, his rifle across his lap, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He could feel it. The next wave was coming, bigger, heavier. They wouldn't send a retrieval team this time. They'd send a cleansing unit below him. In the depths of the station, Lura stood in front of a cracked mirror, watching the light beneath her skin shift and pulse with a life of its own. Her reflection barely looked like the girl he'd carried out of that bunker. She wasn't broken anymore. She wasn't afraid. She was something else now, something whole. Her features were still Valari graceful, delicate, but the glow had deepened into vibrant arcs of blue and gold that lit her from within. Her once muted voice now carried resonance, like music. Under her words, it wasn't just bioluminescence anymore. It was energy, living, breathing power. And it wasn't just affecting her. Riven had started feeling it too, his reflexes sharper, his injuries healing faster than they should, his dreams full of strange symbols and half-formed thoughts that weren't his. Their connection, whatever it was, wasn't one way anymore. They were blending. Lura emerged onto the rooftop where Riven was watching the sky. "You feel it, don't you?" she asked, sitting beside him. He nodded. "Like static in my blood. They're coming." "I know." She hesitated. Then, softly, "I should leave." Riven turned sharply. "What?" "If I stay, they'll kill you to get to me." "You think I'd let them? This is bigger than you and me." "No," he said, voice low and steady. "This is us. That's the whole point. This started because you were abandoned. It ends when we show them what we are now." Down at her hands, crackling softly with pulses of glowing light, and whispered, "I don't know what I'm becoming, Riven." "Whatever it is," he said, gently taking her hand, "you're not doing it alone." And then the skies lit. Up the cleansing unit arrived, without sound, 5 sleek Valari dropships in perfect formation. No flashing lights, no announcement. Just the quiet dread of inevitability. They weren't coming to talk. They were coming to erase. Riven and Lura stood side by side on the ridge. From below, the wind screamed through the outpost, throwing sand into the sky. The dropships hovered, their anti-grav engines churning the air to a roar. From the central craft descended a figure clad in black armor, trimmed with shimmering gold. "Hi." Clan. An enforcer. She spoke through an amplifier. "Subject 217, you are unstable. Your mutation is a threat to species integrity. Surrender now. You will not be harmed." Lura stepped forward. Her voice wasn't amplified, but it carried farther than it should have. "I am not unstable. I am evolving, and I will not go back." Enforcer didn't flinch. "You are an error, a symptom of infection. You bonded with an off-worlder. You tainted your purity." Riven rolled his eyes. "You people need to read more poetry." "Silence, human," the enforcer hissed. Lura's glow intensified. Her hair shimmered like woven threads of starlight. She raised one hand and the enforcer's dropship flickered, its light stuttering. "What's happening?" Riven asked, stepping back slightly. She didn't look at him. "I don't know, but I'm not stopping." The air around her thickened. The light beneath her skin no longer just shimmered. It vibrated, bending the space around her. The soldiers below stepped back. Their weapons trembled in their hands. A wave of something unseen pushed outward from her like a silent shockwave. The sky darkened. The wind stopped. The enforcer raised her weapon too. Late, Lura stepped off the ridge, the moment her feet touched the ground. The storm broke. Not a natural storm. Something new. Something born of will and memory and grief and power. The outposts around them flickered with arcs of raw energy. Old machinery sparked to life. Lights flickered in patterns like heartbeats. Riven followed her, heart pounding. As the soldiers advanced, their systems shorted one by one. One fell to the ground, stunned by the invisible pulse. Another dropped their rifle and stared at their trembling hands. "What is this?" the enforcer shrieked. "What are you?" Lura stood tall, light pouring from her, her voice calm but impossibly clear. "I am what you tried to destroy. I am the choice you erased. I am the future you fear." The enforcer fired. The bolt never hit. Riven didn't know how only that. He saw the light reach out from Lara and absorb the shot midair. The bolt turned to mist and disappeared in two. Her skin, she didn't attack. She didn't need to. Her very presence was enough. The enforcer fell to her knees, her armor smoking the dropships, treated without a word. Without another shot, they'd seen what they came to destroy and realized they couldn't. Hours later, silence returned. Riven and Lura sat together again, back on the rooftop. She was different now. Not just glowing, not just stronger, but complete. Her transformation hadn't made her something else. It had made her fully herself. "You scared the hell out of me," Riven said. "I scared myself." "You stopped them without violence." She smiled faintly. "Not everything needs to be destroyed. Some things just need to be witnessed." He looked at her hand in his. "What happens now?" She took a long breath. "I think others will come. Others like me. Maybe not soon, but someday. And they'll need a place to become what they are, a place to grow." "You want to build that?" "I want to build it with you." Riven looked out at the horizon, burnt, broken, and still beautiful in the light of two suns rising. "You picked a hell of a planet," she smiled. "It's ours now." They sat together as the wind returned, warm, not sharp, not hostile, and for the first time since the war began, Riven felt like peace was possible. Because peace wasn't something governments signed. It was something two broken people built. Together, one choice at a time, one bond at a time, one sunrise at a time.